Hello folks, and welcome to the channel, or welcome back. And in this video we're going to continue to work on the TVR because we need to wrap that up, and then we can start working on Old Rusty because that's been waiting for a while, and the tower room and some of the other projects we're having. So let's have a look on the TVR, what we're going to do in this video. And like with any other car, there's still a lot of work to be done on this TVR, and in this video we're going to be focusing on the doors. And over time, these doors tend to sag. See that play here? So they sag down because the hinges are worn out. So now it's time to replace those hinges. And while I have the door off the car, I also will have to repaint the door. You might remember that we had these black stickers on the side, also on the bonnet and in the back. So I started to pull them off. And for some awkward reason, the paint released, and you can see this spot here, so the paint is gone. So we'll have to repaint the door. Fixing those hinges isn't all that difficult. There's a couple of ways you can do this. Obviously, you need to take the door off the car, and we just looked on that, and we'll do it in a few minutes. And then you can get new hinges, and these are the hinges that I got. They're pretty neat. They have a thick aluminum piece. It's claimed that these are a lot better. I'm not sure, we'll see, and actually we'll compare them with the hinges that you have originally in the car. Now, by the way, the hinges that you have on the TVR are the same as on the Ford Anglia. So if you can get those, you might want to get those. They may be cheaper prices than the prices for a TVR. Nevertheless, a set of these hinges, and I think they run around 64 euros. So it's not cheap. But then again, is it worthwhile to build them yourself? I don't know. I don't think I can build them for that price. There are other options. One of the other options is that you get a revision kit for the original hinges. So you take the original hinges out, and then you get a revision kit. I don't have it, but you can get those. It's cheaper. And in essence, all what there really is a new pin that goes through it and some bushes. So it's a little bit of do-it-yourself work. And then finally, you could rebuild the complete hinge yourself. This is not rocket science, and if you have a lathe, you can turn all the pieces you need, you can turn all the bushes you need, and then you can do it. So I'm planning in this video to look at the new hinges. We put the new hinges up. We'll then look at the old hinges, and then we're going to try to recondition an old hinge ourselves. So without any further ado, let's start. So I'm going to be using my best friend, my dummy workhorse. It's my engine lift to support the door, because you can't take the door off on your own if you can't support it. Unless you have somebody that helps you that could actually hold the door for you. So I'm going to lift the door a little bit, not really lifting it, but just supporting it. And before I do so, I will put some blankets around the door so I can protect that door. Although I still have to repaint it, I still like to protect it. I don't like scratches and dents. Well, dents in this case is probably not going to happen because this is polyester. So let's put the first blanket up. All right, so I might have to tilt the door a little bit. So let's see, lift it very gently so the door is under tension. That's good enough. I don't want to force it. So I'm going to release that bolt with a wrench, which is 1/2 inch, I believe. And it may be a bit difficult to show you that because I can't get to it to show you. The other approach would be to remove the upholstery on the door and then unbolt the hinges from the inside of the door and then slide the door off. Maybe that's an easier method. I don't know. I haven't tried this before. Things don't always turn out the way you want to have it. I was trying to get the bolts out on the hinges, but then I got 2 out, and the other 2 are turning crazy. So in other words, the nut in the back rotates with the bolt, so I can't get it out. And I can't block it because I have no access to it, or I don't even know where I would get access to it, because that feels like a completely closed pocket. So now I took the door upholstery off so I can get to the other bolts that are holding the door to the hinge. So I'm going to try to undo those and maybe have more luck with these, and then we'll see how we're going to get the hinges out and how I can fix that actually nut inside that opening, because that has to be fixed, otherwise I can't put on the new hinges. So we start all over again. I got the blanket back on, got the rope, just going to lift it a bit now. Now I can feel it. Yep, that's good. I'll push it back a bit. But even those are a bit tough to undo. Okay, let's put some deblocker on wherever we can. Oh, I'm afraid if I need to turn like this that I'm going to break things. This was supposed to be a very quick and easy job, but it turns out to be a pain in the butt. I have 2 more bolts to take out. One actually broke off. Luckily, it was already partially out, so that's not going to cause too much issues. Here we are. And now I should be able to take the door backwards and slide it off. Okie dokie. Okay, so let me carry the door to the side. And now you can see how much play these hinges have, see? So no wonder the door was sagging. The top one is better. But we ain't out of the woods yet, because my problem now is that this bolt here is no longer being held in the back by a nut. The nut is turning loose, basically. In other words, the nut is not bonded to the chassis anymore or to the polyester body. And then, of course, I cannot turn it, which is really a problem. The same thing is happening on the bottom one, exactly the same problem. So I don't know how to get that out, because I don't know how to get access inside these pots here. I don't think you can get to it, to be very honest. I'm going to try by spraying inside to loosen that bolt up a bit. Maybe that's going to go better. I'm not sure though. I'll do the same on the bottom side, but this is even more tight. And well, I will have to try to get it out, but you can see how loose that is. There's a couple of ways of doing this. I can pull on it as much as I can, so I pull the nut towards the frame, so hopefully it gets stuck somewhere, and then try to turn it out. Or I can push it all the way down and then turn. That might also work. Both might work, or not. If they don't work, then I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Then I need to think about it. And maybe check with my friends on the TVR forum how they have solved this kind of a problem, because I don't know how to solve it right away. So let's see how we can get this done. See if we can pull it like this and I was able to get the top one out. Now I need to get the bottom one out, and that's a bit more difficult because I can't get to it. It's the same kind of thing, so maybe I can get through it through the bonnet. Not sure. Let's have a look. So let's see. And guess what? At least I can get to the top one here. Now that is good. I can hold this. See, I didn't know that. So it's the first time I take this apart on this car, so sometimes, yeah, you do things and you don't know where else you can get to it. It happens. All right, there we go. That's done. Here we go. Finished. And finally, I was able to get these hinges out, and I'm not sure how they actually installed this and if this is standard, because that's the first time I take this out of a TVR. But what I noticed is that there are little metal plates, and in the back there is a nut, and that should be sealed. And around it I found some gummy stuff. It's almost like liquid rubber, like Tech 7. So what I suspect is that they aligned the door, they bolted it down, and then they filled up these holes with this gummy stuff. So I'm going to do the same as soon as I put these hinges back up. Of course, not the old ones, but the new ones. If you ever remove door hinges on a TVR, I would really like to know how you did it and how especially this area looks like, because I have no idea. In the middle, we got this little metal piece, and in the back there is the nut, and this is the nut that was no longer fixed to the metal plate. And the bottom one is okay, but the top one is not. So twice the top one, on the top hinge and on the bottom hinge, we had that problem. I was able to get it out. Now, to mount the hinge back onto the vehicle, I actually will have to hold that nut from the back like so. So I kind of pulled out with a hook here all this gummy stuff, this rubber stuff. So now I can actually hold that bolt a little bit, actually the nut in the back a little bit, as much as I can. And I hope while I'm tightening it, it will actually lock into place. And once that is in place, I will then fill this back up with Tech 7, which is a really strong gummy-like glue, or kind of silicone, but in fact it's not silicone. It's very rubbery. I think this is how they did it when they assembled the car. They probably put it up, the hinges, they aligned the door, they bolted it down, and then most likely they filled up these cavities with that liquid rubber. Another approach could be to fill it up with polyester, liquid polyester. But I think I'm going to fill it up with Tech 7, which becomes pretty hard and rubbery. So that was the story on this area. So by all means, please comment if you know how that is actually being done on your car and how it should be. The way that I started to remove the door was certainly not the right way. Now, I haven't done that before, so I learned while I was going. So next time I'll know how to do it. So the best way to do it is to remove the upholstery from the door. And there's just a few clip-ons that you have on the sides here, and you just pull that off and a little screw on the top, and off it goes. And then you have full access to the 3 bolts that are holding one hinge onto the door. And there are 2 hinges, so that's 6 bolts in total. Easy to get at, easy to remove if they don't break off. I had actually one that broke off, but okay, that is fixable. And then you can slide off the door very easily. So this is certainly what I'm going to do on the next one. So now let's have a look on these old hinges and on the new hinges and see how we can fit all this back together. So here we have them, the old hinges and the new hinges, and they actually look exactly the same. I don't see any difference on them, except that the old ones have an extra enforcement in the back and the new ones don't have that. The new and old hinges are very similar in dimensions, so I think they are actually the same. This is a bit more curved than that one, so hopefully that is not causing a problem. I haven't tried it out. And in terms of holes, mounting holes to be fitted onto the door, you got 6 holes right here versus 3. But that doesn't matter. The old one lines up perfectly with these 3 here on the new one. I think this is a universal one. They can use it for any kind of car that has this kind of fitting. And for the rest, I think there is not much of a difference. I can see that here we have kind of a cutout. There's a cutout here as well, but there is an enforcement plate in the back, which the new one is actually missing. So this enforcement plate, which is sitting right there. Oops, sorry, let me turn it over like this. I see that little plate here. We don't have it on that one. So I don't know if I can get it out. I might try to drill it out and then put it into that one. I don't know if it's necessary or not. We'll see. So there's a couple other small things, like on the side here you have kind of an indent, and that makes it stronger. The new one doesn't have that one. So I guess all by all the new one isn't too bad, but the original one certainly was better in my opinion. So this is our old hinge, and I'm not going to throw it away because this is also aluminum, and you can actually see the play, and most likely the play is caused by a worn out aluminum channel inside this piece of aluminum here. So we can actually remove, if you look carefully, if I can grind this off, I can then knock out this pin and then I can make a new one and put the new one in, and that should fix actually those old hinges. I may have to drill out the inner part of this aluminum and put a different bush in, but let's see. I'm going to take this apart and try to do this. So I'm going to grind off this part here, and then we're going to try to knock it out. All right, so let's see. Okay, so we've been grinding it off, and now, if you look carefully, you can already see the contours of this axle. So we're now going to try to knock that out. And as you can see, this starts to go. And it's going. Oh, let's knock a bit more. There we go. And here is that steel pin, and this looks very much intact. There is nothing wrong with this. So let's see how straight this is. And I think this is pretty much all right. So turning it, and I don't see no difference in diameter, so that's good. So the wear and tear will actually be on this aluminum piece. I think we're kind of lucky today. The sun is out and the weather is really picking up nicely. But that's not what we're here for. We're going to repair the old hinge. And in my case, I'm going to create a bush that I'm going to put inside the old hinge, and then I can put my original pin through it because that pin is still in a good condition. And all I'm going to need for that is a solid tube, a solid steel tube. This one is an aluminum one, but I also have an iron one, and you'll see me using that. So what I'm going to do first of all is drill a hole right in the middle, and the size of that hole is exactly the same size as my original pin that goes through it on the hinge. And then we'll take that little tube and then we'll insert it into the old aluminum part of the hinge. But of course I will have to drill out part of that. I'm going for a 10 millimeter rod. The tube outside diameter will be 10 millimeters, so I will have to drill a 10 mil hole in my aluminum hinge to fit that in. But you'll see all that. So let's start. So we're going to start with putting the rod through the lathe, and in my case this is how it goes, and this is a very small lathe and a very old one. But it works, it does the job for me. It may not be 100% accurate anymore, but it's just good enough. All right, there we go. So I'm just gonna lock it in place. And let's start. So if you like an aluminum tube, you can make it in aluminum. If you like it in steel, you make it in steel. I made one in aluminum, and I made one also in steel. The next thing is to drill a hole into the aluminum part of the hinge, and the hole is exactly the same dimensions as the little steel tube we just created. So I can actually slide it and actually, in fact, force it in a bit. So let's do that. I have it already aligned. It's always good that you pre-align things and then do a little run and look on the edges to make sure everything is okay, because you want to have this in the correct spot and lock things in place, because otherwise that's not going to work too well. I think this hole right now looks quite all right. It's pretty straight, and that's what I wanted to have, and it has the right dimensions, and we still have ample of space on the edges, so the aluminum is still strong enough. So now we can actually fit the bush into it. So let's see if we can fit the bush that we made before. And this feels like a pretty tight fit, so we'll have to knock that in or press it in very gently, because it is the same size. I may put some little dots on here with a puncher just to make sure that bush is solid into the aluminum part. And then we have the pin that we already have sized into, and that goes inside. And this is how we're going to put this together. So we have no play whatsoever on this system. In the middle, I'm going to grease it up so it can rotate easily inside the bush, like so. And that's it. That's all there is to it, guys, to make this. So let's put the bush inside the hinge, and you might notice all these little dents that I have on here on this bush. Well, that's because I have actually did that deliberately, so it sticks a bit better inside. I don't want this bush to rotate inside the aluminum part. So here's our part. So now we can put it together. I just need to have a look on how the original is, so I don't put it backwards up. So it goes on like this, right? Right. So we've got our two copper washers that go on the sides, and then we have our pin that needs to go through it. So let's see which side. Yep, this is the side I want to stick it in. So let me start moving that guy in. I'm going to move this for a second. Put the little washer up here. That's always handy. Put it up before, and then we'll try to do the same thing on the other side when the part is actually in. Okay, and see if we can get this a little bit lined up. We should be able to. I think that's about it. Sorry guys if I move around too much, but it's a little bit difficult with the camera and trying to put things together. Alright, and that's it. Now you can actually see this part coming out here. I still have to squeeze it a bit together, and then we should be good. So now we have it fully assembled, and you can actually see here this little pin sticking through. We still have to give it a bit of welding here, a little spot weld, so that it stays in place, and that's about it. But we have now a very solid hinge as the original one. So as you can see, it is easy to do it yourself. And as you have seen, folks, it doesn't have to be always expensive. You can repair a hinge very simple with a piece of metal and a tube. If you have a lathe, then it's easier. If you don't have a lathe, that's fine. You can get tubes on the market in your hardware store, and you can also find rods that fit perfectly into it. So you can use those as well. Of course, you will have to do a little bit of drilling and corrections, but that's simple stuff. And if you are a do-it-yourself guy, that should be no problem. So no need to spend 64 euros on a single hinge if you can repair yours. Now I'm going to put the new ones on this side, which is the driver's side, and the repaired ones I'm going to put on the passenger side. So now it's time for me to fit the new ones onto the car and then try to fit the door and align the door before I actually paint the door, because I want to have these hinges aligned first, so then I can start painting the door and I don't have to mess around with alignment afterwards anymore with a new painted door. I just tried the door back on the new hinges, and that was just working fine. What I found out was that the best method is actually to put the door onto the hinges, put the bolts on loosely, and I tried to move it around a little bit so it aligns more or less, but then close the door. You might want to put some spacers up at the end and then turn down or lock down these bolts from the inside. That is the easiest approach that I found to get it more or less correct. But okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is to take the door back off. I'm going to prepare it for respraying it with new paint, and I got the new paint, and that's for the next video. And then we'll actually use the hinges that we have reworked on this side for this door. And that will be it. And then we will do some other work on the bumpers, and you'll see what I'm going to do there. But that's all coming in the next videos. So thank you for watching, and by all means, please provide your comments, because I do like your comments. Oh, and by the way, thank you so much for the additional views I got and the additional subscribers. So for all the new subscribers and the existing subscribers, you're all more than welcome. Thank you, and bye-bye.